Welcome to the session Navigating Ethical, Social and Political Issues in Information Technology. In today's session, we are going to discuss more about the ethical, social and political challenges which prevail in our surroundings. We will start discussing about the ethics in technology definition, few important ethical theories in information technology, challenges and ethical issues at individual level, workplace, companies, society and at government in large, ethical dilemmas in information technology, ethical hacking and white hat practices, and we will also be discussing about the social issues in technology, the impact of IT on society, the digital divide and accessibility issues, work-life balance, and towards the end we are also going to talk about the political issues in use of information technology, laws and regulations to govern the ethical, social and political issues. When we say society, it is set of good and bad things. As the society developed, there was advancements in terms of the convenience which we created around us. One of the greatest convenience in today's world is technology. Technology started simplifying many things for us. It not only simplified, it also brought certain challenges. Now today, when more than 67% of population is using technology for internet or other purposes, it definitely has both positive and negative impact. Now how would one govern or monitor or control these issues which are prevailing around information technology? While when we talk about ethics, we might say like good and bad set of thoughts, like set of moral principles and people need to follow that. Now it is difficult to assume that all the human beings will strictly follow the ethical codes or maintain the integrity of use of information technology. Now information technology has caused ethical controversy in multiple areas like intellectual property rights, employer and customer data privacy and security issues, governance issues, and beyond this, it is very difficult because internet is cross borders or beyond borders. The data which is flowing on internet flows free with the help of border to border communication. Now who would govern these information systems? This is a big question. With this, we also have public safety and the societal impact as we are advancing in the technology. Now there are beautiful set of words when we talk about ethics or morale, like responsibility, accountability, integrity. Now these are good set of action or thought words. We will look into the formal definition of ethics to understand better. Ethics refers to a set of moral principles that govern an individual's or group's behavior, defining what is right and wrong. It involves standards of conduct that guide decision making in personal, professional and societal context. Now, the ethics endorsed is influenced by the culture, philosophy, religion and laws of that particular surroundings. Now, it is very difficult to define what is right and wrong in one situation. What is right at one situation might not hold good or right at other situation. To understand this better, let us look into some of the key theories of ethics. We are going to talk about three main key theories like the utilitarian theory, deontology and virtue of ethics. Now when we talk about utilitarian theory is all about the good to the great. Utilitarianism focuses on maximizing overall happiness and minimizing harm. In IT, decisions prioritize the greatest good for the most people, such as implementing security measures that benefit users. Now, however, ethical concerns arise when individual rights are sacrificed for collective well-being. Now, the thought of what needs to be implemented might be decided by the people who are building these technologies. Now, they need to think of the technology or information systems, what they are building for the society and the governments. In some of the countries, this is strictly governed by the political parties or the ruling parties or the government systems which prevail in that country. So, in a democratic country like India, where freedom of expression and right for information is prevailing, it would be difficult for companies to control these ethical issues. So, the companies and the governments who are building information technology and information systems will decide what is good to the maximum people and going to implement those set of ethical standards. Now, moving on to the next theory, deontology. Deontology refers to duty, rules, and moral principles over consequences. In information technology, this simply means following data privacy laws and ethical guidelines. Even if breaking them might lead to better outcomes, this approach ensures fairness but can sometimes be rigid in complex technological dilemmas. Now, a set of standard codes or principles or guidelines can be designed and given for the people, be it the set of individual users, employees, the society, or to the government departments in large. Now, this ensures that the people follow the set of framework or guidelines which has been designed for the good of the particular country or the system. Moving forward, we have virtue ethics in IT decision making. Virtue ethics focuses on moral character and integrity rather than specific rules or consequences. In IT, ethical behavior is guided by qualities like honesty, responsibility, and fairness in decision making. Now, this approach encourages long-term ethical leadership and responsible innovation. Now, in a country like India, where honesty, integrity, responsibility, accountability, and moral values like these are imbibed since the beginning or foundation of, younger ages, it is easy. But it's not always true. Just because these values and morals are told to people, they will follow. As good as the good set of people in the society, there are always a small number of bad elements which cause threat or damage to the information systems. Now, this poses as threats or challenges. When we talk about the law and regulation, we can simply say this is a code, it needs to be followed. If it is not followed, this can be punishable or penalized. But when we are talking about the ethical standards, we simply believe that once told or once the system is understood, people would follow these qualities like being honest or fair use of information technology. Now, let us look into some of the challenges and ethical issues. Hacking, data breaches, and privacy issues are one of the biggest set of problems prevailing with respect to the challenges. Now, in the previous session, we were discussing about the data privacy and data security concerns and how exactly data protection laws and regulations can streamline the data security and privacy issues. So, unauthorized access to personal data, data breaches and cyber attacks, ethical concerns about data collection and surveillance are some of the challenges pertaining to data privacy and security. Now, when organizations are collecting the data, what should be the line of limit or to what extent the data needs to be collected by companies or government for processing the business details or citizenship is a big question. So, this is where the good set of regulations like the amount of information what could be collected can also become a reason for creating problems in terms of information or data collection. The next we have is use of artificial intelligence. Automated decisions with the help of artificial intelligence is one of the biggest challenge. Most of the things what is generated on internet is not monitored or controlled. Now, this causes one of the biggest challenge in terms of individuals believing what was created by humans or what is the set of things created by the artificial intelligence. Now, when we move on to the organization level, in organizations the biggest challenge is employees using these AI tools. Now, at governance level, the government is unable to control and make quick policies or decisions with respect to use of AI tools. Another greatest ethical issue is the impact of employment and human autonomy. Now, the number of employment opportunities created by IT is large. Now, there are good set of programmers, designers, developers and hackers who have been created in the system. Now, the set of people who are contributing to this information technology also consists of a small number of people or group which might also be working towards damaging this system intentionally, unintentionally, for the benefit or for no benefit. Now, how do we deal with these problems? Cybersecurity threats are also one of the biggest challenges because majority of people are accessing internet for multiple reasons. Most of them are present on internet for one or other reason. It could be for a social media engagement or for uploading or documents for the government as a governance part, or it could be for education purpose or submitting an health record for health department, or simple set of documents submitted for the transport department for issuance of driving license. We are supposed to give all our basic details, and how is this information being stored, processed, transferred from one point to another is never known by user. Now, this creates one of the biggest issue, like whether the departments which are collecting this information are securely handling the data. Above all, the hardware and software integration brings in a lot of intellectual property rights and violations. Now, at company level, there are biggest conflicts created for the software designing codes or hardware designs, or even anything like logos, designs, anything what has been created by these companies for market benefits. Now, it is not only the challenges, we also live in a world in a confusion where what is right and what is not right. Now, this brings us to ethical dilemmas in information technology. Now, what is right in one part of the world or one situation might not be right at another point. Let us look into the ethical dilemma set of things in information technology. Privacy versus security, like what amount of data should be collected, or which are the set of data which should be collected by the company, and what is that line of limit in data collection is one of the biggest dilemma. The second one what we have is artificial intelligence and job displacement. Now, today we see information or news around us that artificial intelligence is going to take over the jobs. Well, it might not be true to 100%. Artificial intelligence might replace or upgrade the information technology opportunities, but for sure it is taking away few jobs. Now, in such a situation, how do we promote or embrace the technology which is going to eat up the employment opportunities and create problems in near future? Now, what is the data created by that and how much trustworthy is it? The reason is artificial intelligence doesn't create anything on its own. It is not a supernatural power like human intelligence. The artificial intelligence is the set of the data which is taken again from the internet database or something which has been created with the help of large language models and deep trained with the programs, algorithms, and it is only the set of data which is generated. And with prompts, we just give set of instructions and it is auto-generated. So, it is not created by artificial intelligence originally, it is more about the data generated. That brings us to generative AI. So, with all these things, the dilemma is, should we trust this? How much should we use? And where will we end? Or how is this going to go in the coming days? The third dilemma is the algorithmic bias. Artificial intelligence systems may unintentionally reinforce social biases affecting hiring, lending and law enforcement decisions. Now, artificial intelligence is used for multiple task handling. Now, when machines are sitting on the other side and making decisions on selections or responding or making things happen or not, the question is how right or fairly is it done? We have hacking and cybersecurity, the ethical concerns which arise over ethical hacking like penetration testing versus illegal hacking activities. In the next set of slides, we are going to talk about the white hat hackers, surveillance and consent, like governments and companies use surveillance technologies. However, ethical concerns emerge when users are unaware or have not consented. Now, the problem here is today in multiple situations, the governments are using the surveillance. So, the question is ethical surveillance of technologies should be promoted or not. Till now, we were talking about ethical set of things to be done. What is right and what is not right needs to be defined. Now, assume a situation where the data is secured and somebody is trying to hack the data or cause threat. One needs to test this. So, we have legally trained professionals who are called as white hat hackers. So, ethical hacking and white hat practices are beneficial for the society today. Ethical hacking involves legally probing computer systems, networks or applications to identify vulnerabilities before malicious hackers can exploit them. Now, who are these white hackers? The white hackers are those professionals who are trained well, legally permitted to hack the system. These professionals work with organizations to strengthen cybersecurity following ethical guidelines and legal frameworks. Some of the key practices these ethical hackers do are penetration testing, like simulating cyber attacks to assess system defenses, vulnerability assessments like identifying and fixing security loopholes. So, they do a lot of pre-testing, compliance audits like ensuring systems follow security regulations with respect to the respective country laws or where they are operating the business. Now, there are very good number of white hat hackers, professional developers who have been trained, and every company today needs these people in their IT department. Now, there are also government systems who appoint white hat hackers or cybersecurity officers or certain designations which are created for maintaining these issues. We have few TED Talks by Mikko Ipponens, who is the Chief Research Officer and the cybersecurity expert. We can see his talk since 2009, 2011 and the recent one where he talks about how fighting viruses and defending internet was most important threat few years ago, like a decade ago, and then how online attackers could be controlled. And today he talks about the concern like how governments need to take care of this in first place. Now, there are also geopolitical issues when we talk about the ethical dilemmas of information systems. He also throws light on these discussions. We can always tell what is good to follow and what is not good to not be followed or not be practiced. Or in other words, to have a regulating and monitoring control systems. Now, for this, we take help of laws and regulations. In the last week's discussion, we discussed about the Information Technology Act and other guidelines. Now, we have understood there are national, regional and international information security laws which are being framed by the respective governance or business entities to protect their information systems and processes. Now, data protection laws vary worldwide. Now, it varies from one company to another company based on the geographies they are operating and by the governments which are monitoring these business guidelines. And to an extent, when it comes to consumer data or users data, companies which are creating and collecting the data own the responsibility of handling this data. Now, how do they protect the user's information is a big question. So, we discussed a lot about this under data privacy and data security. With this, the users are also given the rights to information and ownership. We also have intellectual property rights, which gives the ownership for the content created like digital innovation and creation. Now, once these things are streamlined, it is going to make easy to decide whether software piracy or ethical concerns issues have to be dealt in a particular modern way. Now, another question we have is whether open source or proprietary softwares. Now, all these are set of things which are concerned with the information or property rights pertaining to companies. Now, in the table what we see, it very clearly mentions that the intellectual property rights also covers the non-competitive agreements. Now, when we talk about customer privacy, we need to also think about employee privacy and other set of guidelines which needs to be laid down as a part of ethical concerns. Now, till now we did not discuss much about the employee concern. So, when we talk about employee privacy, we have sexual harassment, affirmative actions, equal employment opportunities, shareholder interest and employment at will and whistleblowing policies in place to monitor these challenges. Now, with this, the organization also has to follow the IT and work safety norms. There are ergonomic issues which are cropping up in the workplace because of long and continuing working hours. We also have Association of Information Technology Professions, that is the AITP Code of Professional Conduct. Now, its code of conduct outlines the ethical considerations inherent in the measure of responsibilities of information systems professional. Now, it could be listed as follows. The table clearly classifies the responsibilities of an information systems professional towards the employer as well as the society. So, when we talk about the obligation towards employer, there are a set of key points like avoiding conflict of interest, protecting the privacy and confidentiality of information, not misrepresenting or withholding information, not attempting to use of resources for personal gain, not exploiting the weakness of computer system for personal gain. Similarly, when it comes to the obligation to society, the information system professionals shall use the skill and knowledge to inform the public in all areas of their expertise to be best at their ability to ensure products in the workplace in a socially responsible way, support, respect and abide by the appropriate local, state, provincial and federal laws or respective country laws, never misrepresenting or withholding information, not using knowledge of confidential or personal nature in any unauthorized manner to achieve the personal gain. Now, with these particular set of norms, probably in the workplace, a set of ethical standards can be achieved. The relationship between the society and information technology is reciprocal. The society shapes the development and use of technology, while technology in turn significantly impacts the structure and function of society. Technology definitely influences the way people communicate, work, access information and interact each other. Essentially, society drives technological advancements and those advancements then influence the evolution of society itself. Set of statements tells us the importance of the relationship between the society and technology. Now, what are the set of benefits society has gained because of technology? One is mutually they are interdependent. It has both positive as well as negative impacts. Positively, it has made life easy, processed lot of information at greater speed, which has enabled faster business and services. Now, in turn, it has also brought few harmful or ill sides or effects. At one point today, it is also creating the digital divide. It has certain negative impacts on the health and the lifestyle of people. One of the major reasons for this is addiction. So, when we talk about the positive impacts, it has created lots of benefits in terms of education, boosted economic activity and connected people globally. Now, when we look at the social impact of technology, it has helped in education sector by implementing online learning platforms, providing access to education across geographical barriers, and there has been huge implementation of technology in all business sectors. Technology is one of the versatile implementer in all business sectors. Now talk about any business, you will not be able to say technology is absent. We will see some part of technology's presence there. Now as good as it has created jobs and developed businesses, it has also caused threat by giving reasons or what you call situations to create misinformation or fake news. Spreading of false information through digital platforms is quicker and it's very difficult to trace who is the creator. Responsibility of tech companies in content moderation, ethical concerns in censorship and free speech. Now these are few issues again to be listed under that. Now when we look at the environmental impact of IT where we live in this society, now we see more and more technology implementation requires lot of physical infrastructures to be developed. It could be anything from the tower network systems to digging earth to laying the cables or any wireless communications which is harming the other life which is living in the ecosystem. Now e-waste management and disposal is one of the greatest threat. Now how do we recycle this e-waste is a question lying in front of the organizations which are creating lot of electronic goods. And the other big problem is the energy consumption by all these industries which are dependent on information technologies. Ethical responsibilities of tech solutions provided, and nothing remains constant forever because most of these things require frequent upgradation and reinvestments. So what are the costs and how it is going to be incurred in coming days is one question companies as well as individuals pose. Now we also have digital divide and accessibility. Now this is one of the greatest challenge in countries like India because majority of the people who are living in the urban area have the access for internet and other technological devices. Now the biggest challenge is dealing with the digital illiteracy. Now what happens with a set of people who do not have access to these digital infrastructure? Now should we blame the government or companies not going for those places like rural places where digital infrastructure is absent? Now this creates a lot of inequality for access of technology and internet. And the other problem is the ethical responsibility of tech companies and they are not willing to bridge this gap. Inclusive design for people with disabilities. One of the most thoughtful set of actions which has started in the last 2 decades is making the information technology and systems equally accessible to the specially abled people. Now we see these developments happening since last decade or it could be anything like specially disabled people using the technology like as good as any other human being. Let us say like how I use internet or how I use ATM banks or how I am using any of the self-serving technologies, how a specially able person could use the same set of things. Now can that technology serve two individuals with differences in same terms? So for this the companies have to make an extra effort to create such technologies. Now another impact on the society is work-life balance. Now there are talks which says like 70 hours of work, 80 hours of work, taking IT companies as examples. But the question is how long, or just because information technology is available in multiple places, it doesn't mean the employee should be troubled to work all the way throughout their daytime or irrespective of timeline. Now balancing workplace security and employee rights is one of the major concern. And when we are talking about work-life balance, employees definitely are experiencing the burnout in IT profession. Employees have been monitored and under surveillance for multiple reasons when they go for work for home or continuously have been asked to work until the work is completed. And there are also ethical consideration in terms of automation replacing jobs. So this also tells us the other side of workplace challenges and how the workplace is connected with the society, how much percentage of population is getting affected because of IT profession. Now having discussed social and ethical challenges with respect to information technology, we will now look into the political issues in information technology. Today, the data which has been created across the countries has been used by the governments for good as well as certain reasons which are not acceptable by the general public. The information technology has significantly transformed political systems, governance, and public engagement. Some of the key impacts are digital democracy and e-governance, which enables improving transparency and citizens' participation. Some of the countries are also thinking of online voting systems, digital ID systems like we have Aadhaar in India. Then again, we also have some thoughts on using blockchain technology for elections. Now, the question here is how secured and trustworthy is it? And the other important question is who is going to bear the cost for this? Do we have trustworthy systems in place? Social media and digital platforms allowing direct communication between leaders and citizenship. Now, this is both good as well as has its own negative implications. Cybersecurity and election integrity, like IT advancements have raised concern over election security, risks of hacking, misinformation and cyber warfare. Governments investing in cybersecurity frameworks to protect voting systems and national security data. Disinformation on campaigns and deepfake technologies to influence political narratives. We saw recent elections in some of the developed countries, how exactly like deepfakes were created to influence the voters. Now, social media and political mobilization. Social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook and WhatsApp greatly influence the public opinion and mobilize political movements. Now, political campaigns leverage AI-driven data analytics for targeted messaging and voter engagement. Now, there is also another challenge of designing information systems which could filter out the fake information or misinformation which has been created by, the systems and processes. Policy and regulation challenges, like governments worldwide struggle to regulate tech giants like Google, Facebook and Amazon regarding data privacy, antitrust laws and misinformation controls. To an extent, these companies behave like they are bigger than the governments, but somehow the governments are trying to control these companies' influence on their geographies. It could be for business, e-commerce or even in terms of like social media engagement. Like today when we look at the percentage of population present on social media, it is very difficult for government to even establish a network like that. So the social media has spread like anything and this has given them greater control over the users' data. IT enables smart governance but also raises concerns about mass surveillance and privacy violations. Like we can take the example of China's social credit system for this. Now, when we look at the digital divide, is it only the responsibility of the government to bridge up this gap? So, governments are aiming to bridge the digital literacy programs and affordable internet policies and using information technology to empower marginalized groups by providing them with platforms for advocacy. Governments are doing their best to create better information systems in their place for the citizens. Now, the laws and regulations, like we have General Data Protection Regulation Act from the European Union, and in India we have the Digital Data Protection Act, the DPDP Act. In some cases like in e-commerce and all, we have general guidelines designed by those countries. So, all these set of law or practices to be followed by the companies which are into business, with all the discussions around social, ethical and political issues, we need to think in the coming years where will we go ahead. As good as the developments, there are still challenges to be addressed. So, let us take a quick recap of things what we discussed in today's session. We discussed about ethics in technology, definition, ethical theories in IT, challenges and ethical issues, ethical dilemmas in IT, ethical hacking and white hat practices, social issues in information technology like impact of IT on society, digital divide and accessibility and work-life balance. We also discussed the political issues in information technology, laws and regulations pertaining to the information technology, some of the interesting facts from this session, references used in this section. Thank you.